Hi guys. It's been a while, huh? I haven't made a video in like a year now, but I'm hoping to change that nowadays. I'm going to try to make this channel a kind of installation video and tech repair video more around Nintendo. So today, I actually have these two capture cards here. I record the video, I record the video of me installing these cap cards. You can see the micro USB up there and down here. Installed them. I ordered the chips from Loopy. If you don't know who Loopy is, he is the guy that creates the 3DS DS capture cards. He made 3DS capture cards, but he's stopped nowadays. So yeah, if you guys are interested in installing it, he even does his own installation fee. It costs like $60 US, I think. But I decided to do it myself because I'm more hands-on when it comes to this kind of stuff, and well, I just thought instead of shipping a DS to him, paying more fees just to send me the chip and install it. Yeah, like I said, you guys are going to see a video, and right now I'm going to show you what tools you're going to need for this. Now, what I have here is a little kit, but my tri-wing's broken on this, so I had to improvise. You will need a 0 size Phillips head screw, and this is mainly for the back plate for the battery. And you will also need a tri-wing. Now, I used the tri-wing here when I installed a new shell for someone. A 0 size tri-wing. This is not the right tri-wing. Actually, the capture cards that he sends comes with their own tri-wing. And the first one I had, like I ordered 4 of these, right? The first 2 that got sent to me, the screw was sideways, so it was not usable. So hopefully you guys can get some usable ones, but this one is amazing. It is a very thick, wide one, so it's narrow at the beginning, so like it digs into whatever size tri-wing you need. So this is what I used. You guys will see in the video that I actually tried to use this, but failed horribly. And last but not least, this is probably the most expensive tool that you guys are going to definitely need, a Dremel. I bought my own Dremel, but hopefully maybe you guys own one too, or like maybe you have a family member. But what I used was this metal, like, kind of sand disc piece to cut off bits of the plastic. You'll see that in the video as well. And I also used this little guy here, if I can get it out real quick. It is also, well, I think this is more of a grinding bit, but it's, like, tapered, so, like, it gets narrower. So I use this to widen out the port for the USB. But yeah, that is mostly all the tools that you will need. Preferably a battery-operated one. You don't need something super powerful, like just a little Dremel. You're just cutting plastic. But yeah, you will also see that this one here, this battery cover, is a tri-wing. That's because these are aftermarket shells. I just want to preference that right away. These are aftermarket, so some things are a bit different with these, but the tools that I provided you, you will most likely need every single one of them because, well, I mean, I took out the shells of the original, so they're not too different. But, yeah, let's get right into it. Alright guys, voiceover Nathan here. This is not when I am currently taking apart the DS. I had the audio muted once I was doing this because there is a lot of noise with the dremeling and there's a lot of background audio when I was taking apart this DS, so I just thought it would be far more convenient to do a play-by-play of a after recording. So right now, I just took off the Phillips for the battery cover, the Phillips screw, and now we're going to go ahead and take the battery off. And I will point out where all the tri-wings are right after. Okay, that is the tri-wing I was talking about that wasn't any good. So I'm pointing out that there is a total of 7 screws, and wherever the tip is pointing is where there is a screw that you will have to take off in order to get at the back of the DS. And right now, I'm going to be struggling with this tri-wing because it was far too small for these screws, and these screws were in pretty good, so I definitely need to go back with the tri-wing that came with the capture cards. So we're going to go ahead and speed past this with all the screws being removed, and I will be back with you once we get the back off. Alright guys, we are back, and right now I am taking off the back, and you just want to wiggle it off because there are some latches, there are some little pins on the side of the charge port that like latches the back of it on. But yeah, so right here you can see the motherboard and the ribbon cable right there, right next to the capture card. That is what you're going to need to access with the capture chip. So we will deal with that in a moment. Right now, we are going to take off the I/O shield that covers the GBA slot. Now, obviously, it is not needed, but it is recommended to take off because you never really want to cut the metal and then, like, last minute, you're going to end up getting shrapnel in your eyes. I believe there's a Phillips head right here that you can see that you have to take off this I/O shield. So, yeah, you will need to take off 3 Phillips screws. That was my mistake. So, right here, I am going to point out what you will need to cut with the Dremel. So right next to those letters ABS, those 2 little slots there is going to have to be cut, and that port, that screw port there, is also going to need to be cut off. So there's going to be one, you're going to have 1 extra screw after all of this is done. So yeah, definitely remember that. So like if you have an extra screw, don't worry because there was 1 screw that you did not need to put back in afterwards anyway. So right now you can see me, I took off the shoulder button just to make sure that I can access the ribbon cable a bit easier. And I'm going to try to wiggle it back on just to see if I can put it back on without having to take off the motherboard. But yeah, I'm going to be back with you once we start the dremeling process. Alright, here we are. There was a little jump cut there because I was setting everything up. That is the capture card that is in question, everyone. This is where it is placed, so I am just lining it up to show you what needs to be cut. So you can see that those little parts there, the little corner of the GBA slot, and that screw port is all going to have to come off. And I did not notice this before. You can see my safety glasses right there. Just to show you guys that I even put safety glasses on because I really don't want to lose an eye doing this. But I forgot to mention that there is a side of the DS slot that is also going to have to come off. So we are going to accelerate this a bit. And I will be back with you once we get all of this cut off and line up again to see what else we need to get cut off. Alright, we are going to be starting by cutting the screw port now. This was a bit of a complicated task because I only used the disc port. I cut it into little bits, like little slivers, and then grind it. As you can see, I didn't have enough power on that one, so it got caught in between the plastic. So with this Dremel here, I recommend maybe going at a speed number 3 with this particular Dremel light. That is the name of it. So you can cut the thick plastic. So we're going to be cutting at an angle here, and I will be back with you once again once we get that part cut off. Okay, we are doing our jump cut. As you can see, I had to vacuum off all that extra plastic, and as you can see, it is not properly lined off. You can see my finger pointing at that corner of the DS plastic, or the DS slot plastic covering, sorry. So we're going to have to chop that off in order to line it perfectly with the square port. So I will be back with you once we get that dremeling done. Actually, I just realized there is a bit of extra plastic that I had to cut off here on the first DS, but once we get that done, it will finally be lined off, and then we can get started with the capture card on the motherboard, and I'll be back with you once we get to that part. Alright, so here I am installing another Dremel bit. Right now we are going to be starting off with the micro USB slot that is going to have to be replaced. Now, this bit was the incorrect one. The end was flat, so I didn't really get far, but it did end up aiding me when it came to the lining of the micro USB port. Right now you can see me just trying to figure out what angle I should be going at this, but I preferred to go at the outside in. So that square point that the end of the Dremel bit is pointing at right now, that is the part that you are going to need to cut for the micro USB. Now, my perfect reference for this would definitely be the photos that was provided by 3DS Loopy. And as you can see here, I'm only going to start cutting halfway through. The bottom half of this square is where you're going to have to start cutting, because that's where it's lined. So don't cut a giant gap, so only go from half of the square down, and you're going to have to cut a little bit of extra off the bottom of the square. But I will be back with you once I actually start the process. Okay, so here you see that I have a flat lining of the bit, and right now I'm just trying to extend it with this little narrow piece just before I start with the tapered bit. So this is quite a process. It took quite a while because of the really small grinding piece on this plastic. But this is the part I was talking about where it said it aided me with the lining of the micro USB port, where I need to go with the extra Dremel piece. But once we get that extra Dremel piece on, I will be with you. Okay, jump cut again. As you can see, I just installed the taper bit, and this is where it's going to get a bit real, because this piece right here cut into the plastic really quickly. Now, when it comes to making the slot, I highly recommend going slowly over time. And then when you think you have it, line up the capture chip again just to make sure of how much you need to take off each side. Now, I also need to remind you with this, on the square, the micro USB slot isn't going to be perfectly symmetrical, so it's not going to be even on both sides of what you have to cut. There is a bit of extra plastic that you're going to have to cut around for the USB port near the end of the DS cover slot. So yeah, it's not perfectly symmetrical. It's a little bit more to the left when you're looking at it top over. But once we get it all installed, I will be back with you once we finally start putting in the capture chip. Alright, we are back. I had to do another jump cut to vacuum up the plastic once again. So right here you can see I already popped off the ribbon cable, and this is the little ribbon cable that comes with the DS capture card. So there are two ribbon cables involved. I did not preference that before. I'm sorry if you got confused. So you got to make sure that you have the orientation right. So the thick hard end has to go into the original DS slot, as you can see here. So like the darker plastic. The longer dark plastic has to go into the DS itself. And then you have to make sure that it's in nice and tight, because ribbon cables are quite janky like that. They're not always going to be dead on, so you just have to make sure. But definitely be gentle, because replacements are going to take a while to get back. So, and this is also the orientation that the DS capture chip is going to be itself. So as you can see, I'm trying to line it off of how it's going to be done. I just showed you there. Then it's going to be like touching the DS card slot. So right now you flip the mini ribbon cable that is currently connected into the DS upside down into the other end. So this is the correct orientation. So the gold pins are going to be facing you when you put it into the DS capture chip itself. And you can see there is another ribbon cable slot in behind that one. So this is where you put the original ribbon cable from the actual DS itself, and you just slide it in. This one's quite a bit easier, but definitely just don't force it, and just use your thumb on the hardened part of the plastic, so you don't end up damaging the ribbons inside the plastic itself. So as you can see here, I'm just sliding it, and I did have a little bit of issues with it, so I had to take it out and put it back in, because it was slanted and it wasn't perfectly symmetrical when it came to the ends being put in right. But we are going to go ahead and install that. It's still off a bit. I can even see it here in the video. but I will be back with you once we decide to line off the capture chip with the 3M tape on that metal slab you can see there. But I'll be back with you then. Alright, as you can see the 3M tape there, I'm going at it with my tweezers. Now, normally you would take off the 3M tape before you install it, but in this situation it's better not to have the 3M tape bare, because if you touch it, it's going to be really crappy to try to pull it off and line off again, and if you're a bit too forceful, you can end up just tearing both the rim cables right out with all the force, because the 3M tape is quite strong. So I would recommend the method that I did. I just keep 3M tape there and just get some small tweezers to cut off or to pull off the coverage for it. So here you're going to see me try to line it off. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to have that micro USB port like dead on next to the side of the DS slot. And you're also going to want to have it straight. You do not want this at an angle. You want to have it perfectly flat. So I would recommend, you can't really see it that great here, but I would recommend maybe like you can see the motherboard for the DS chip, you can see across my fingers there. I would flatten off that green part, like the green chip, like exactly flat with the DS card reader slot. Now, I didn't do that myself, and I managed to get away with it, but it will be easier to put the back on if you put it back a bit further than what I did, so for me, I had to actually cut out parts of the charger slot so I can put it in an angle because of the way I did it. But I realized this when I installed it on the turquoise DS, and you will be seeing that later. I'm just going to speed past that one, so I'm not going to be having a guide on that. But at the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and just like show you guys of how I installed in the blue one. The blue one was quite a bit easier. So you can see right now I'm actually pointing at where I'm going to have to cut. So you're going to have to cut off, if you're having the issue I am, where you can't put it in an angle because there's things blocking it, because this back was meant to be put on flat, like perfectly flat. But when you go on an angle, it's going to be a bit more complicated. So right now I'm putting the disc Dremel bit on, and I'm going to go ahead and start cutting away at that. So I will be back with you once we get that process done. Alright, so after quite a bit of struggling, you can see I sped it up a bit because it took me a while to try to figure this out. So there are little slots on the sides of the charge port that actually line up with this back. So what I did is I took the disc and I widen out those prong slots so it can be easier to put it on an angle. But yeah, after this, it should be completely done, and I just slap it back on, but I will be back if there was anything else. Alright, this is the finishing part. As you can see, I finished off widening out those little prong pieces, and you do still want to be gentle because you still could end up damaging something. Like if you get the chip to catch on the back of it and try to pull it off, you can tear the rim cable on the chip. But that's pretty unlikely if you followed the instructions that I did. So as you can see here, the micro USB is still not centered. You can see the little slot directly in the middle of the USB port. It is not perfectly symmetrical with the square, like I said before. So like I said, keep an eye on it. It is not perfectly symmetrical the way you cut it, so you're going to have to go more closer to the DS card reader slot to cut it out than you will the other side. So as you can see here, I have the the capture cable that came with the DS capture chip. I'm just going to put it into the slot to make sure that I cut it perfect so I can just pull it in and out easily. And as you can see there, those ribbons that you can see through the stylus, by the way, you're not going to have your stylus. That's going to be gone after this. What I did, I just put a bit of black electrical tape on it so it looks a bit cleaner and you really don't want dirt going in through that slot. So that's what I did. So right here, we're going to fully install it. And yeah, that pretty much does it, honestly. Like, that is it. So, but what I did here is I put a couple screws on to make sure it was secure before I booted it up and the battery in. But as you can see here, I pointed it out right here. That screw is now gone. That is where the micro USB slot is. So you're going to have one extra screw at the end of this. This tri-wing is also magnetic, so it's pretty unlikely for you to lose a screw. Is pretty good for that. So yeah, I put in a couple screws and I put the battery on, and I paused actually, so there may be a jump cut to show it, but I paused the recording to test the capture card just to make sure everything was sound. By the way, you are also going to need the DS capture software. It is very simple. It's very easy to operate. So all you got to go is go on 3dscapture.com, I believe, or you can just look up 3ds capture loopy, go to DS capture and go to software. You download it, and then once you plug in the DS to your computer, just launch DS capture application on your computer and it should read it right away. If you're not reading it, or if there's a flashing of something, then it means that there's a wrong connection or you installed a ribbon cable wrong. So just redo it and just make sure that before you fully install it, that your capture card is working, because it would be quite a pain for you to take apart all these screws once again. But yeah, that does it here, and I will catch you once we start on the green DS, which, like I said, we're just going to be speeding by that one. It was the second DS, so this was the real tutorial one. So hopefully I helped you guys out, and as you can see here, I'm screwing in that tri-wing there just to make sure that the DS capture slot is flush with the faceplate. But yeah, that about does it. I hope I helped you guys out once again, and I will catch you later. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video today, and hopefully I was of some help if you also want to install the cap cards yourself without having to get Loopy to do it for you. But or maybe it just interested in you DS cap cards in the first place, which, I mean, amazing. I'm glad I got you into it. But yeah, personally, I have 4 of these now, and the reason I do it is for shiny hunting at full odds of generations 3, 4, and 5, sorry. And yeah, if you want to check that out, twitch.tv/NewfieLuck. And also, I have to give big credits to Hyper Potions. I listen to them all the time on Twitch, and they were also the 3 songs in this video. It was Snow Day, Friends, and Swim, I believe. Or Surf, sorry, Surf. But yeah, so the links to all 3 individual songs as well as their channel is also gonna be down in the description for credit. And yeah, so also in the future, I have a couple DS Lites coming in. I'm gonna see if I can repair them and maybe make a profit off it. But yeah, so just keep an eye out in the coming months on my channel, because hopefully that video will be up sometime soon. I haven't got them at the current time of this recording, but I'm hoping that I'll get sometime this week actually coming during this recording. But yeah, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to keep an eye out on future tech videos.